Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sean Moss with Down Payment Resource. We have some other staff with us as well from the Down Payment Resource team. Fern White, our customer success manager, and Melinda Harris, our marketing manager, are also with us today. They will be answering questions in the background, so please use the Q&A and the chat, and let's keep this interactive. We are going to give you a lot of marketing ideas and creative solutions to overcoming the down payment obstacle today. But we also want to address your questions or share your success stories or hear your feedback or get to know your familiarity and your experiences with down payment assistance programs, how you're partnering with lenders. So share your stories, share your ideas, ask your questions, keep this interactive as we go. With that, the goal today is to talk about the state of down payment assistance programs very briefly and discuss their impact. We're also going to take a brief glimpse at first-time home buyers and the market opportunity we have there. But the crux of the presentation today is really about educating buyers about down payments, as in down payment requirements, but also about down payment assistance programs as a solution for overcoming down payment obstacles. Specifically, we're going to look at how to enhance your marketing and expand your reach with our Down Payment Connect tool. And we're going to do that by showing you how your peers all over the country are using the idea and the topic of down payment assistance, as well as this Down Payment Connect tool, which many of you already have access to, in order to see how they're getting creative with their marketing, how they're educating new buyers, how they're reaching wider audiences, and how they're growing their purchase pipeline. So again, I'm Sean Moss with Down Payment Resource, and let's dive in. A little bit about us at Down Payment Resource. We track and monitor all of the homeownership programs across the country for down payment assistance, closing costs, tax credits, and more. And we have, around that database of all of these down payment programs, we have built a number of tools and other technologies to help you connect home buyers to down payment help. We integrate with MLSs. Many of you are members of our MLS partners, and we'll show you some of the benefits you have and how you can use some of these tools we're talking about today for free as part of your membership with our MLS partners. We also have a subscription tool for agents and loan officers, for those of you loan officers on today, that you can use if you are not a member or part of one of our partner organizations. Now, overall, our goal, our mission is to help you connect home buyers to the down payment help they need. So bearing that in mind, let's take a quick look at the state of down payment assistance programs broadly before we dive into broadcasting and promoting and educating about down payment assistance and down payment requirements. So of the roughly 2,300 some homebuyer programs across the country, 78% of those are down payment or closing cost assistance programs. And in fact, that's a pretty broad category. Some of those are grants. They're a true gift at closing. Many of those are second mortgages, silent seconds, soft seconds, deferred seconds, subordinate loans. These are all not synonymous terms, but terms you will hear to describe the many kinds of down payment assistance programs out there. We have an entirely separate webinar dedicated to breaking down the most common features and requirements of these programs. Today is all about marketing and creativity and expanding your reach. So we'll give you a little bit of this context and then we'll get into the creative stuff. So some of these down payment programs offer deferred payments. Almost 2/3 of all the DPAs across the country defer payments for some period of time or for the life of the first mortgage. Almost half of all the down payment programs out there are forgivable loans, meaning that the debt and the lien is forgiven either in part or in full over time. And then plenty of those programs are both deferred and forgivable. Now that kind of broadly describes down payment assistance programs, but we also track and monitor all of the first mortgage programs that come from state housing finance agencies, mortgage credit certificates, typically that come from state and local housing finance agencies. Those are tax credits. And then there are other programs like matched savings programs, housing choice vouchers, and so forth that we monitor as well. But that's largely what we're talking about. These programs are available everywhere. So no matter what state you're in, there is a state housing finance agency, or maybe more than one, that offer typically a pretty dynamic suite of home ownership programs across the state. But then there are cities and counties and all manner of other organizations that offer homebuyer assistance programs of all types all over many of your markets, metro, suburban, rural, and so forth. So there really literally isn't a market in the country that doesn't have some sort of down payment assistance help for buyers. Now, big picture, just to first and foremost combat any misperception you may have that down payment assistance programs are gone or are going away. That is not true. All state housing finance agencies across the country stayed open and remain open today through COVID. There were no state housing finance agency shutdowns. Most local housing finance agencies also remained open. In fact, now we're seeing early in 2021 that last year, many, if not most, state housing finance agencies had record years, best ever or top two or three ever. And that is all purchase business. So for you loan officers listening in, if you're looking for a way to grow your purchase pipeline, talk to your real estate and your builder and your broker network and let them know that you've got access to down payment assistance programs. And let's all recognize that there was maybe sort of under the shadow of the refinance boom last year, there was an enormous amount of purchase activity and an enormous demand and utilization of down payment assistance in 2020, and that trend continues this year. Now, obviously, there are inventory concerns, and that's universal across the country. But nonetheless, DPAs are alive and well. They're not going away. We continue to uncover and publish new down payment assistance programs from states, from municipalities, from nonprofits all over the country. Currently, about 81% of all down payment assistance programs are funded, active, and available. So just to be clear, that's actually kind of a normal number. Not every program will be funded at the same time. There are seasonal funds. There are some programs are not funded all year or perpetually like your state is. So municipalities may get, seasonal allocations of money, and if their program is more popular, that money goes away faster. It gets used faster. Also, homebuyer education is being done online. So all of the things that were required to sustain down payment assistance programs were done last year to the tune of a record year in many cases. So we wanted to first make sure everybody understands these programs are still here. They're not going anywhere. And in fact, we have an administration in place that has focused a lot of attention on fair housing issues, on home ownership rate, equity, on down payment even. So we're going to see more and more attention on down payment assistance as a topic, but also the programs themselves as a solution to down payment obstacles and as a way to educate about down payment misperceptions. Now, thinking about perception, here are just some things that we commonly hear from realtors talking about their clients, from loan officers talking about their borrowers, or even from consumers themselves as we at Down Payment Resource engage in more consumer outreach. We always hear, I'm saving for a new home. I doubt I qualify. I probably don't have enough money saved. I want to stop renting, but I don't know how. So we just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the things that home buyers are looking for guidance on. Obviously, they need to navigate the home buying process. First-time home buyers, that's a universal concern. Educating them about the process, the requirements, the financing piece, the property search, the contract, preparing for closing. There's a lot to learn there, especially for a first-time home buyer. That's not new, but let's acknowledge that the need persists. They also need help getting pre-approved for a home loan. Now, we saw a lot of loan overlays and changes to just the mortgage industry, much of which was temporary last year in response to COVID, but a lot of that is settling down, which means that buyers also now, especially first-time home buyers, are going to need more help comparing and understanding mortgage options. And we've got some interesting data to show you about that in just a moment. They also need to know that if you're going to utilize a down payment assistance program, it's likely that you are going to be required to complete a homebuyer education course. We hear a lot more recently about Sellers don't want to accept offers with FHA financing or with down payment assistance programs. We are building a new webinar to address those and similar concerns, but also remember a down payment assistance program on its own does not mean that there is necessarily a delay in the closing process. Often the down payment assistance program gets blamed for delays in closing or for elongated closing timeframes, but often that's because a few things don't happen up front that could have or should have. Like, for example, make sure that homebuyer education course gets done up front. There's no reason to wait. When somebody completes a homebuyer education course, they typically have up to a year to then execute on a contract and purchase a home. So there really is no reason to wait to get that done. If you've got an early stage prospective homebuyer, have them go ahead and do that. It's going to prepare them for home ownership. It's going to prepare them for home purchase. And again, we talk about that more in some of our other webinars, but that's just one of the things that sometimes doesn't get done up front that can cause a delay in the process. But nonetheless, home buyers need to know that, right? They need guidance from you, the real estate agent, or you, the loan officer. They also need help covering their down payment and closing costs, or understanding how down payment assistance programs can help do that. And for you realtors, one way to make sure, or one way to hopefully ensure or motivate sellers to accept these offers is to frame them appropriately. If you have a client using a down payment assistance program and some of that money can be used for closing costs, maybe you don't have to ask the seller for closing cost help. And that's a huge difference to the seller. That means their net proceeds are going to go up by the amount of closing costs you're not asking for. And if you frame that appropriately, that may open their eyes to the financial incentive for accepting an offer from a buyer using a down payment program. And then, of course, now we are in a tight, fast-paced market with limited inventory, which is just another complexity that home buyers are going to need guidance on. So bearing some of that in mind, let's also take a moment to reflect on some misperceptions that linger among potential home buyers. We did a study with the Urban Institute, it's about 2.5 years ago at this point. And at the time, one of the things we did, in addition to breaking down a bunch of data, looking at loan data, real estate data, and so forth, we also surveyed, or the Urban Institute surveyed a number of potential home buyers. They asked a number of questions, but I want to point out the answers to 3 of them. When asked, what is the biggest barrier to home ownership? It shouldn't surprise anybody here that more than 2/3 of that audience of potential home buyers responded that the down payment is their biggest barrier to home ownership. In addition to that, almost 2/3 of that audience responded when asked how much of a down payment they thought they needed in order to purchase a home. They almost 2/3 thought they needed 15% or 20% down or more. Now, that's actually really concerning because everyone on this webinar knows you can get a conventional loan with 3% down, 5% down, FHA 3.5% down. If you're a qualified veteran, 0 down using a VA loan. If you're buying a qualified rural property and you qualify for a USDA mortgage, then you can get an RD loan at 0% down as well. So we know that that's the threshold for down payment requirements. The problem is potential home buyers don't know that. So we have to think, how many potential buyers are otherwise qualified and ready to go, but they just misperceive that they need 20% down. And then lastly, when asked if they were familiar with low down payment programs, which doesn't mean DPAs, that just really meant the mortgage options I just rattled off, more than 3/4 said they had little or no familiarity with low down payment programs, not to mention little or no familiarity with down payment assistance as a solution for the down payment obstacle. So if those are the thoughts and those are the perceptions of potential home buyers that many or millions of whom may otherwise be ready to go credit wise, income wise, employment wise, then we need to address these misperceptions and think about this in terms of growing the pie, not just growing our pipeline, but expanding the pie, the pool of potential buyers that are ready to execute. So in thinking along those lines, let's be trusted advisors, understanding that we need to provide information that's going to help buyers prepare for the future, but also be prepared to serve, to educate, and to keep them informed about current requirements, about down payment requirements, about inventory concerns, and about strategies for purchasing a home instead of backing off that education and dealing with the pipeline coming in. Let's expand our feelers, let's expand our educational efforts, and recognize that as we do so, the people we reach are going to tell their peers. And if we're educating one, we're educating many. So, with that in mind, let's now get into some of the more creative stuff here. So, how can we connect buyers to down payment assistance help? How can we overcome these misperceptions about down payment requirements? And how can we educate more broadly about the down payment topic? So, we want to get into that by first letting you know who our MLS partners are, because as we get into this Down Payment Connect tool and some of these marketing practices, the ideas are universal. But some of you may already have access to our Down Payment Connect tool for free if you are a member of one of these MLS partners. We have another one coming. Greater Alabama MLS will be coming very soon. So they're not listed here yet because it hasn't launched. But if you're a member in the Birmingham area, that is also coming soon. So I'm leaving this up here for a moment so you can scan the list. If you are a member of one of these MLSs, you already have Down Payment Connect for free, and we're going to show you how to get that. It's a lead gen tool that expands your marketing, and we're going to dive into some of the benefits here in a moment. To get to your Down Payment Connect tool, this is going to look different depending on which MLS you're a member of, and I'll show you another example here in a few minutes. But basically, log into your MLS dashboard, and in your third-party products menu, you're looking for down payment resource. When you click on that, it'll take you to our down payment resource dashboard. The first thing at the top of the page, as you see circled here in red, is your personal Down Payment Connect link. That also comes with additional marketing resources, social media images, graphics libraries, customizable flyers, video tutorials, social media training modules, and more. And if you are in California, you also have access to a down payment search tool. Now, Down Payment Connect is not available for free, but we'll get into that in a moment. If you're in California, you can go to finddownpayment.car.org and do a search for down payment programs in California for your clients. You can even send your clients there. Or you can go to downpayment.car.org, log in as a CAR member, and get access to additional marketing resources there. Outside of our MLS partners, so if you're not a member of one of those MLS partners, you can also subscribe to Down Payment Connect, and it's a monthly subscription. It's $24 a month for a realtor, so it's super affordable, and it gives you unlimited lead generation. It gives you access to marketing support and tools and resources. And we are going to show you now how your peers are leveraging that tool and leveraging those resources to get creative in social media, in email marketing, and on their websites to broadcast the message of down payment solutions to a wider and better educated audience. You can learn more about Down Payment Connect if you're not a member of one of our MLS partners at downpaymentresource.com/DPC. And we'll put that up on the screen again later. So this is the fun part. This is the creative part. Not that the rest wasn't, but the point of that was to set the context. There are a lot of buyers out there that are ready to go, but so many of them suffer from misperceptions about down payment requirements, that don't know that down payment help is out there. So we want to show you how your real estate and loan officer peers all over the country are using down payment assistance information to educate and attract new buyers. So I'm going to walk you through some examples here, and then actually have even more pulled up live. So we're going to just navigate some live websites here and show you how your realtor peers are doing this all over the country. But first, let me just give you some basic ideas here. Add down payment assistance information to your website. This is a realtor in Atlanta. He's added a blurb about down payment assistance right under his bio on his homepage, and he's provided a Down Payment Connect link for his website visitors to start searching for down payment help. So the whole idea here is provide a path to uncovering those assistance programs. Now, That's essentially the crux of our mission here. What we're diving into now is what are some of the many and creative ways that you can do that. Embed the search experience into your website. So Down Payment Connect is literally a link unique to you that consumers can use to search for down payment programs. They're not going to see all the program details. They're going to connect to you first, and you get to start that conversation, walk them through the next steps, connect them with your partners, for example, your loan officer partners, and get them into the purchase pipeline. So one way to do that is just use an iframe, embed the tool in your website, as Susan here has done, and let consumers do a search without even leaving your website. You can create a new page. So we saw an example of just adding content to a home page. We saw an example of embedding the form. Here's kind of a blend of both, but if you look at the navigation menu across this Premier Homes by Angela website, you'll see that she's added a navigation item pointing people to down payment assistance. When that page loads, it's just the search form. So she's added it to her site navigation. So anybody looking at listings or other resources, they can also look into down payment assistance and specifically do a search for down payment help where they want to buy a home. What about email? So we mentioned website, social media, and email. We'll look into some social media examples here in a moment, but this is just an example, a very simple one, of adding a call out to down payment assistance programs in your email signature, such that every email you send includes a link to find down payment help, and everybody that receives it or forwards it on to somebody else is going to see that you offer down payment assistance, or you can help them find or uncover down payment assistance opportunities. So adding that to your email signature, in this case, in the form of a graphic that links to their Down Payment Connect page, that's a simple way to broadcast the message that, hey, down payment help is out there. That's step one, right? Let people know that these programs even exist, and then offer them a path to uncover opportunities where they want to purchase a home. Blogs. If you've got a blog, let us know. In fact, put your blog URL in the chat box and we'll check it out. If you do actively manage a blog, you're also likely always looking for content ideas. Some of that is going to be hyper local information, all kinds of tips and resources and checklists and local news, trends, market dynamics. Down payment assistance is a great topic to weave into your blog, and it doesn't have to just be one post. We've seen posts that were many paragraphs long. We've seen posts that were a couple of sentences long, but talk about down payment assistance because these programs are available everywhere. Let people know that. And then again, offer a path. As you can see in the second paragraph here, there's a link in the text to search for down payment help. So as you're educating about the topic, offer the path for the search for down payment help. We'll look at another example of a blog here in a minute. We'll do that live. Video, leverage video. Richmond Region Realty here in Virginia. They built a wonderful page. It's a longer page about down payment assistance. They produced and embedded their own video content and went on to educate site visitors about the impact of location, profession, home ownership history, and military service and things like that. Factors that play into whether or how many down payment assistance programs you may be eligible for. But it was a great way to educate a wider audience and more deeply educate them by offering more content, and also engage with video, and also provide that path to down payment help through a Down Payment Connect search. What about checklists, or more broadly, onboarding resources? When you are intaking a new client or you're onboarding them into your pipeline and your marketing exercises, what are some of the first things that they get from you? What are some of those resources that you hand out to your newest clients and prospects? And maybe put another way, what are some of the things that you're telling new prospects that they need to think about or consider or plan for or collect or whatnot? One of those things ought to be figuring out what they can afford, including how much of a down payment they have now, how much of a down payment they actually need, and investigating solutions for bridging that gap, i.e., down payment assistance programs, right? So here's an example from a broker in Austin, Texas. One of the first things he gives to new buyers is a home buyer checklist. Step one, find out what you can afford. That means investigate your cash to close. Bring up down payment assistance programs here, because that's part of the cash to close investigation, is figuring out what kinds of help, what kind of programs are out there to assist with down payment and closing costs. Part of this process is getting pre-qualified. And that means that's an opportunity for you to revisit and rebuild and reinvigorate your realtor loan officer relationships, and make sure that you have, specific protocols and processes in place to intake new first time home buyers. Are you looking at down payment assistance for each new potential buyer that walks in the door? Are you considering the impact that down payment assistance could have on loan to value, so size of down payment, right? And what that does to the monthly payment, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Are you considering the potential benefits to mortgage insurance pricing by driving that loan to value down? Are you considering the impact on qualifying ratios? If you can bring the payment down, you're bringing the ratios down. There are a lot of ways that a down payment assistance program can impact qualification. And if they're not being explored or investigated, or if you don't have loan officers that you're partnering with that provide these programs, you may literally be missing out on prospective buyers that have hit your pipeline but don't make it out the other end qualified because nobody looked at down payment assistance programs. So anyway, point of this example is, what are you providing to incoming clients, and are you addressing down payment requirements and down payment solutions in those resources? Now let's look at social media for a few moments here, and then again I have some other examples pulled up. Raul here, he has a series, or in the past has run a series of 10 videos that answer some of the top 10 questions he gets from new clients. One part of that series, which went out as something like a weekly email over 10 weeks as a new client came on board, one of them addressed, when you're researching home loans, how do you address down payment and closing costs? So he just leveraged quick hitting video, answered the question, and then you provide a path to searching for down payment help. And again, you're widening your audience base, you're educating them, and you're providing them a path to solutions. All of which, quite frankly, puts you at the center of the transaction as a real estate agent. And loan officers that work with these programs, likewise, put you at the center of the transaction and gives you an opportunity to come in as a value-added partner for real estate agents when you can help address the needs of first-time home buyers. And actually, let me pause here. First-time home buyers represented more than 40% of purchase business last year in what turned out to be a record purchase year. We're talking about a huge segment of the population, and we're also at the same time recognizing that there's a huge untapped portion of that same audience that just doesn't know they're ready, or misperceives that they aren't ready, or just needs a little education to get ready for home ownership. So put aside inventory concerns and think about pipeline, think about the household, think about your loan applicant or your prospective buyer, and think about how much larger that pie can be. Now, opposite end of the spectrum, post-closing, you got someone to the finish line. Did you help them cover their down payment with a down payment assistance program? That is a wonderful story, if not a perfect story, to tell a prospective new home buyer. So in this example, this team in the Twin Cities, they've told their social media audience, hey, I got this past client of ours, what was it, $12,000 for down payment assistance. They got into their first home. Now, in this case, maybe they didn't anonymize it. They had names and pictures. Maybe you don't have permission to do that, or maybe you do. Either way, even better if you can put a name and a face on that, if your client was okay with that. But even if not, just an anonymous story, but a story about a client that you helped that got down payment assistance, got into their first home. Were they a core service provider? Were they a first responder? Were they a teacher? Were they a first-time home buyer? Had they served in the military? Anything else you can add to that story to tell future buyers, hey, look, it's possible. here's a peer of yours that just did it. I helped them do it and I can help you too. That's a wonderful story, especially for social media. Video. So kind of tying together social media and video, look at a couple of things here. Look at the timestamps on these videos on the screen. Look at the locations. These are all about a minute, right? One is in a hallway and looks like the lobby of a building. The banner video here is in a kitchen. There's a fridge and a sink in the background. One's in the corner of, I don't know, an office room or something. But they're all 1 minute long. The one that the main one up here on the screen is how to find a lender that offers down payment assistance. In 1 minute, you can address and answer that question. That's all it takes. And it doesn't matter where you are. Get your personality out there, pick a specific topic and a specific question, address it, keep it short, 30 seconds, 1 minute, get it out there, and then just keep building on that. An example of building down payment assistance information into a web page. So I've shown you several examples of that. Here's a team in Seattle. Under their advice for buyers section of their website, they've added a longer page about down payment assistance where they have added content. And I can show you this one live as well. But they've added content about down payment assistance programs. What are they? To whom are they available? Not just for first-time home buyers. All the other factors that might play into eligibility. And they also, as I'll show you in a moment, they also embedded the search into that page. So they provide all that education, and then they just have the actual down payment connect search form in that page. Great way, again, to educate buyers. It creates a great page you can drive people to in other marketing platforms. So if you've got this good page on your website, you can put very small, very short posts out on social media, drive them to this page, and then let this page do the work. A landing page. So this is a bit of a different idea, but Marilyn is in Indianapolis. She built a landing page that basically said, hey, are you a first-time home buyer? Down payment money is available. Give me your name and email address, and then I'll let you search for programs that are available. So it was sort of a splash page or a capture form in front of the down payment search experience, but she also leveraged that through Facebook ads. And look at the ad, 2 sentences. And guys, this doesn't have to be difficult. Just broach the topic, and you may be surprised at the volume of potential buyers who are currently renting. They're facing lease renewals, but with that message of hope and opportunity, as simple as it can be, then you may drive more interest, you may drive more traffic to your website, you may generate more inbound leads. If we speak to the obstacles, perceived or real, that stand in front of our prospective home buyer audience, then we're going to get attention. And it doesn't have to be complicated, as you can see here with 2 sentences. And then this could be leveraged again to drive them to a place with more content, more educational information, and so forth, to further build that confidence in that buyer that home ownership is within reach, and more aggressively drive them to you to start that process and to become a part of your purchase pipeline and your client base. Now for Marilyn, that's been a great lead generation tool. She gets good leads, they're responding, and they're interested. So again, it doesn't take much. You can start simple, start with a couple of sentences, but you have to broach the topic of down payments, clarify misperceptions, and offer a path to a solution. Instagram, a couple things for Instagram, since we're talking about social. Just post information. Again, this can be super simple. A couple sentences. Down payment help is out there. Stop second guessing yourself. Don't leave money on the table. Contact me and let's see if you qualify for down payment help. That's the message with this post. We have all kinds of graphics. You can see an example of some of that here, but we provide all kinds of graphic support for you, as well as flyers and other marketing support. And we want you to use them. I mean, that's what we're doing here, is showing you examples of people that are using this stuff. Here's a loan officer. So using some down payment graphics. Are you looking to buy a home? You don't think you have enough saved up? We participate in a lot of these programs. Let's contact me. Let's figure out what kind of down payment assistance is out there for you. Great message, great post, keeps it simple, but sheds light on the fact that there's hope out there, there's a path to ownership, and there are solutions to what you may perceive as being the biggest obstacle to home ownership. It doesn't have to be. One last example from Instagram, you can use a tool like Linktree, for example, to add links in your Instagram bio. This is one example. Get creative, figure out other ways to do it. But this is a way to provide that search experience within your bio. And then, of course, there's LinkedIn. You could use Twitter and tweet information. There's all kinds of other ways. We can never cover all of it, but our point is we provide you with all kinds of flyers, artwork, tutorials, video guides, and so forth to help you get started, as well as, and I think most importantly, all of these examples. These are your peers. This is what's happening around the country talking about down payment assistance programs. And many of these people have been doing it for years and have literally built their team or their business or their brokerage on first-time home buyers, down payment assistance, and partnerships with lenders and loan officers that know and perform with these programs. So start more conversations. This is just kind of a recap of some of the things you just saw. I won't necessarily read off this list. And in fact, I'll come back to this. Let's actually take a moment to look at a few more examples. So if you're a member of one of our MLS partners, you'll have something like a product menu when you log into your MLS dashboard. Look for down payment resource. I realize this is just one MLS and it's going to look different for everybody. But the point is, go to your product menu, find the down payment resource button there, and that'll take you to Down Payment Connect. Down Payment Connect itself is your own lead gen landing page. It allows you to give the consumer a down payment search experience. There are realtor and loan officer versions. If you are not a member of our MLS partners, you can generate unlimited traffic, unlimited leads. They're yours. As this tool gets out there and gets used by more and more people, those leads are yours. This isn't a lead buying program. It's not a lead carousel. You're licensing a tool unique to you to supplement your marketing and offer a path to down payment help. Now, here are even more examples. So, we're always looking for those people that are being most creative. These are some of the freshest, newest examples that have shown up in our analytics recently. So Suncoast Realty down in Florida. This team has a buyer's menu. And if I click on down payment assistance there, it's just going to take me right to the search. And that's it. They just added a navigation menu in their website. I come here, I start my search. Let's say I want to search in Orlando. I'm going to see that there are some programs out there. Maybe there's more if I served in the military and I want to get those details. I'm going to go right to Brad in this case. And once I submit this form, he's going to tell me more about these programs and he's going to connect me with his lender partners. And I'm going to go, get pre-qualified and I'm going to start that process. All because Brad offered on his website a very simple link at the top of his website for buyers called down payment assistance. Again, keep it simple, right? Here's another example. So this team has created a page just for down payment assistance, and it's on their website. So you've got their top navigation menu, and you can, again, do the search here, and Warren's going to help you with whatever you do on that website. Another example here of creating a down payment assistance page. This one's got a little more content though. Doesn't take much, but it looks good, right? We've got a nice graphic here, just a couple of sentences, and he's addressing the common misperception. Many people searching for a home feel like they may not qualify for down payment assistance or don't even know that those programs are out there. There are programs available even if you currently own a home. Many people like you have taken advantage of these programs already. Find out now what you qualify for. And then he goes on to talk a little bit more about down payment assistance programs. And then you can search. There's the call to action, right? Search. And again, this is more content than you need, but he's actually building in a process here. Hey, there's down payment help out there. Here's a little more about these programs. Here's a way for you to find what you qualify for. Then let's get you pre-qualified for a mortgage, and then let's go find a home. That's the process, right? That's the process that new first-time home buyers should be following. And he's built his educational efforts in that manner. Here's an example. Elzer offers a down payment search on his menu. So you can search for a home, right? But if you're not ready to do that, or if you want to learn a little bit more, first time home buyer information, or maybe you're ready to buy, let's talk about that. He's got a blog. So if you've got a blog, are you adding down payment assistance to your content? Down payment assistance programs. Guess where that takes me if I click this menu from his home page? I'm in this search. I'm going to search for down payment programs where I want to buy a home. And Mr. Bryce is going to help me once I finish that search. A blog. So I mentioned I would show you another blog. We looked at one earlier. Here's a post. Pretty simple, right? Some cool graphics. Are you looking for down payment help? Here's a link right here. And I can click that. And once I do, I'm going to search for programs. And Chaz is going to help me find the programs where I'm ready to look. Now, just to take a look at the rest of that post, there is some content down here. There is video. So in fact, I believe this is one of our videos, but that's great. This is all about us providing you with the content you need to make you the down payment hero, to put you at the center of the transaction. So he's telling people, hey, down payment money is out there. Again, that's the first most important thing to do, is just let people know that these programs exist. Down payment money is out there. Let's find it. That's actually a very common 2-line call to action that we see in like social media posts, for example, to draw attention to the topic and then bring them to more education. But now, to that point, he does go on to talk a little bit more about what down payment assistance is. He's got a video here. So if you want a little bit more, there's some video content, and then some steps, step-by-step actions you can take to find down payment help where you want to buy. And again, it ends with this link is another link to the down payment search. And then let's see, I'll show you 2 more examples here. So here's another example. And I'm just showing you all these so you can get a feel for the many ways in which down payment assistance is presented on websites and social media and so forth. And you're seeing varying levels of educational effort. You're seeing varying levels of lead generation effort. You're seeing all kinds of different presentations of the topic, but they all work. These are the people that we're seeing generate traffic and buzz and clients most recently, as in, I mean, I only went back for the first quarter of this year and looked for people that were getting a lot of traffic, and you're looking at them now. So on the top nav, look at this. Okay, you've got about us, about the team, buyers, sellers, down payment help. It's part of the site navigation menu. There's not a lot here, but again, there doesn't have to be. And look, similar call to action, right? Down payment money's out there. Let's find it together. And a couple more sentences here. And then here's the big call to action. This is the search, right? If I click this big go button here, now I'm off looking for down payment programs, and MJ is going to help me with anything that I find. And I'll leave you with one last example before we kind of round this out and talk about who your partners are in all this process. Here's a Facebook example. This is, again, just to drive home how easy this really can be. Down payment money is out there. Let's find it. Are you seeing the reoccurring theme? How many examples have we looked at from people that are actively using and generating traffic and pipeline from this tool currently? That call to action or some variation of it is what we're seeing over and over. Use my Down Payment Connect program to find, or Down Payment Connect page to find programs that could help you save on down payment, save on closing costs. And then there's the link, right? Nice graphic, and that's it. It's that simple. So I hope that gives you a lot of ideas for how to kind of spread the word, broach the topic, bring it up, get the conversation going. So I do want to talk about who are the experts, and then we'll revisit some of the ways that you can access all this information. So look for participating lenders, either in the program details on your state housing finance agency's website or the DPA provider's website. Our tools show you who the participating lenders are as published by each program provider. But those lenders are the ones that offer the programs. The state housing finance agencies in many states now will publish lists of their top producers. those are the ones that really know these programs. They do them frequently. They know how to set expectations. They know how to set timelines. They know how to make sure everybody's being communicated to frequently, thoroughly, and accurately. And most importantly, they know how to close these deals on time because they're good at it. So leverage their expertise and make sure everyone, including sellers, are receiving the appropriate expectations and that you can frame your offers more attractively for sellers. Number two, host virtual seminars and hopefully soon enough in-person seminars. First time home buyer events. If you can get 20, 30 people to that, and you and your loan officer partner can co-host the event, or check with your down payment assistance providers, your housing finance agencies, your municipalities that offer down payment programs. They may be more than willing to partner up on an event like that to broadcast their program, and you guys are all together educating a pipeline of potential buyers. Highlight information about your local programs in your marketing content. So to some extent, we saw bits and pieces of that, but a very specific example could be if there's a program that you like or well, or one that you and your loan officers know well, maybe in your success stories or in your social media content, you can say, hey, look, up to this income, you can get this many dollars in down payment help, and you can buy a home up to this price. Use very specific examples of an actual down payment program within, marketing guidelines and best practices. But talk about an actual program and the benefits that it provides. And it may not be the program that somebody ultimately qualifies for, but at least they know that these kinds of programs are out there. And lastly, we would say, attend a homebuyer education course, absorb the message, incorporate it into your marketing, and take that out to your prospective buyers. That's what they're going to hear in the course, and that's the message that's going to be communicated to them by other parties. So, it works in those courses. It does, and you can see that play out in loan default statistics. Mortgage delinquencies are measurably reduced among those who have been through homebuyer education courses. The content works, so use it in your marketing pre-purchase. We have a down payment insiders group on Facebook. I just showed you tons of examples of what your peers around the country are doing. Many of them are members of this down payment insiders group. The link is on the page here. That's over 7,000 real estate agents and loan officers around the country that are sharing these ideas, these best practices, success stories, challenges that they've faced, obstacles they've overcome, solutions they've put in place to do so. It's a great forum to interact, to engage, to learn from others, and to see what might be working in New Jersey if you're in New Mexico, and anywhere else in the country. So in terms of learning from your peers, I'll leave you with a couple of examples here, and then we want to get into Q&A. We'll answer all your questions, see if there's anything interesting going on there. But this is all about showing your clients what's possible, and it's all about providing solutions for your community and for your pipeline. So I won't read these, but you can glance at them, and we'll provide this in the follow-up. That's what we're trying to help you do, and that's what agents like Amber and Raul here are doing for their clients. And for the record, both of them were highlighted earlier because they're doing things that are working. Again, here are our MLS partners. If you are a member of one of these MLSs, then I showed you broadly how to go get Down Payment Connect from your MLS. Log into your MLS dashboard, find Down Payment Resource on your dashboard, and once you click that, you'll be on the Down Payment Resource tool. Your Down Payment Connect link will be there waiting for you, along with other marketing resources. If you are not a member of one of these MLSs, you can also go to downpaymentresource.com/DPC, and you can subscribe to Down Payment Connect for yourself, and you can kick off all of the creativity and the marketing and the education that you've seen today in your own unique way. So if you have any questions about Down Payment Connect, go to downpaymentresource.com/DPC. If you have questions for us, reach out to us at info@downpaymentresource.com. And we put our reports link up here as well if you'd like to go read some of our monthly and quarterly and annual reports and get a little more educated on broader down payment assistance trends and first-time homebuyer market trends and so forth. So with that, let's get back into chat and Q&A. And Melinda and Fern, are you seeing any trends, any questions that have been coming up multiple times that we can address, or any interesting stories to share?
Yeah, hey, Sean. So first, I just want to remind everyone, a lot of you have been asking, we are recording this session and we will be sending that out to everyone. So if you started late or you want to revisit some of the content, because I know it's a lot of content, we are going to send this recording out as a follow-up. You'll probably receive it sometime tomorrow. So just be on the lookout for that. Sean, another thing that I've been seeing, which I know you addressed briefly, but a lot of people are asking how to find loan officers that work with DPAs and kind of how to combat loan officers that don't want to do down payment programs.
So I'm going to answer the second part first. If your loan officer doesn't want to do down payment programs, then if you do want to do down payment programs, you need another loan officer. I mean, let's just be candid and point blank so we don't waste people's time. If you have first-time homebuyer clients, if you think you can do more business with down payment assistance programs, which we all think now at this point is more than apparent, given the way the last few years have shaped out with down payment assistance, given the administration in DC and the attention on these issues, there is a path to a bigger purchase pipeline with down payment assistance programs. If your loan officer partners or the ones you call on don't offer these programs or don't want to mess with them or whatever, I suppose that's not the partner for you. And maybe that wasn't the answer that you were looking for, especially if you're a loan officer. But let's not waste everybody's time if they're not a good fit. That said, to find loan officers that do participate in these programs and want to do this business and are good at it and will respond to you, here are a couple of ways you can do that. Ask around your existing loan officer partners. You may have loan officers out there that you have worked with recently or previously, or maybe even currently work with, that do offer these programs, but it just never came up with the clients that you were working with them on, or maybe it just never came up in conversation. So start there. Look at your state housing finance agency website. They all publish a list of participating lenders, some by loan officer, some by company. Many state housing finance agencies also publish a list of their top producers, sometimes by company, sometimes by individual originator, sometimes by region within the state. Nonetheless, those are the most expert among the experts. They build their business doing this kind of working with down payment assistance programs and aligning the right mortgage products with them and so forth. That's a great way to find a new partner. They would likely welcome your business because that's their business model. Another way is Down Payment Connect. When a consumer completes a search and when you get that lead, each program in the lead email that you get also provides a link to, in fact, I have that pulled up here. Here's the lead that you get. When a Down Payment Connect user submits that form in your search and you get the lead, the program names in that lead email that comes to you are links to the details of that program. Now, the consumer doesn't get all that detail, but you do when you get that lead. And that includes information about that program, their guidelines, their flyers, the program provider's contact information, and that program provider's published list of participating lenders. So there are 3 ways to find lenders that participate in these programs, and reach out to us if that still hasn't worked somehow. But I suspect you'll come up with a number of partners through any of those 3 paths that you can strike up a partnership with and execute on a first-time home buyer plan. So what else, Mel? Fern?
Great. Lots of great questions coming in, Sean. So we have one question from Joanna Robinson, and that is, where does the down payment assistance money come from? Is it coming from the state? So can you just go through those resources just a bit for us?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I didn't really hit on that. Okay. So down payment assistance money comes from the The State Housing Finance Agency, they leverage bond funding activity as well as secondary market activity. Basically, state housing finance agencies are perpetually funded. They don't run out of money. That's an old, outdated misperception. Now, that's at the state level. Cities and counties and other entitlement municipalities get funds from HUD through either the HOME program or the Community Development Block Grant program. Many of us probably heard more about those or heard about those funds for the first time through the COVID response last year and ongoing this year. But those funds have been in places for decades, and they have for many decades provided community development funding for things like down payment assistance, among other initiatives. You also have the Federal Home Loan Bank system. There are 11 jurisdictions of the Federal Home Loan Bank, or maybe 10 now, across the country, and they provide funding, liquidity to member banks and member financial institutions. Let's see, you've got community development financial institutions, they're basically nonprofit community development lenders. You've got nonprofits themselves. So that's just sort of tip of the iceberg, but most of these programs are government or quasi-government or nonprofit funded. And then you've got employers that offer some down payment help. And that's probably the majority, but that's by and large where down payment assistance funds come from. And to be quite honest, ask your, especially bank partners, but some lenders, particularly banks, have Community Reinvestment Act obligations, and they may have their own down payment assistance programs or closing cost grants. So ask your loan officers as well if their company offers anything like that.
Great, thank you, Sean. There's another question. You may have answered this earlier in the session, but this is a question about the fact that we're currently in the seller's market. And this agent wants to know if introducing this type of financing in an offer, if it affects the ability to negotiate.
Okay, so that's a pretty broad way of asking that question, but I understand the gist of it. So does it affect your ability to negotiate? Well, let's acknowledge a real but frustrating concern. Sellers right now are balking at offers that, this is what we're hearing in some cases, they're balking at offers that include FHA financing or that include down payment assistance programs. Our take on that is, let's listen to the thousands of real estate agents and loan officers that closed record volumes with state housing finance agencies last year using down payment assistance programs. Let's look at and listen to the people that are using Down Payment Connect and partnering with loan officers that know these programs, and let's understand and adhere to their best practices. Do homebuyer education up front. There's no need to wait. They don't have to be pre-qualified. They don't have to be a buyer yet. They can take that course and get it out of the way and be a better educated client. Investigate cash to close up front. Don't wait till it's too late. Don't let that become an obstacle and then have to look at a down payment assistance program when you're already under contract. That's not the fault of the down payment assistance program for delaying. That will be the kind of event that causes pause among sellers and their agents. And once an agent is soured by one transaction, they're unlikely to revisit DPA again. All of these are preventable. Let's also frame the down payment assistance appropriately as a value add in the transaction. If closing costs are covered, frame the offer that way. Hey, look, we'll give you list price, and we're not going to ask for closing costs. We've already got our pre-approval subject to property conditions. We've already done the homebuyer education course. And then two more things. Make an emotional plea. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, my client is a teacher. They just had a new baby. She really wants to live closer to where they work. I just made that up, right? But my client just got off of active duty, or this is their first home, or my client is a single mother. We really want her to get the opportunity for home ownership. Whatever that scenario is for that client, it's okay to make an emotional plea too. Tug at the heartstrings of the seller. And the last one I'll leave you with is, what is your reputation for getting deals done? As a loan officer or as a real estate agent, leverage that too. If you work with these programs and you successfully close them and you understand the timelines and how to get these deals done, why be shy with the seller? Let them know that, look, I built my business. I staked my reputation on getting these deals done. We're not going to experience delays. Here's the timeline. And then I said I would leave you with that, but I'll add one more thing. Anything can delay a transaction, and DPAs may have nothing at all to do with that. An appraisal could go wrong, an inspection could go wrong. So, if we look at all the reasons why any transaction could be delayed, there are a number of examples out there. We're building a webinar to address all of this, and we expect to deploy it next month. So we would encourage you to sign up for our newsletter on our website. But those are just some ways that I hope kind of combat the misperceptions among sellers and the agents that represent them that these transactions are worse or will take longer or are less financially beneficial or any of the other misperceptions that you're hearing. So that's not a perfect answer, and there probably isn't one, but I hope that helps.
Hey, Sean, I have just one question about homebuyer education that's come up like a couple of times in the past few minutes, actually. Just number one, where do we find homebuyer education courses, and kind of what are the details behind them, and who has to take them?
Yeah, so we cover this in a lot of our other webinars. Today is mostly about marketing, but homebuyer education is essentially HUD certified content provided by providers that could be online or in person, mostly online now. As to where to find those requirements, when you get a lead, click from Down Payment Connect, click the lead, click the program name in the lead, and part of what we show you, which you can see right in the middle of the page there, are the homebuyer education requirements and how to fulfill them. That's one way. You can also look on the program provider's website. Most of them require homebuyer education courses be completed. They also include links on their website for how to do that. Ask your loan officer. If you have a loan officer that works with these programs, they'll know exactly where to go for homebuyer education based on the program that you're interested in. So those are a couple of ways, but typically it's online 4 to 6 to 8 hours maybe of content work in a classroom setting. When available in a classroom setting, it would be typically 6 to 8 hours, and they're learning the home buying process and home ownership, how to be a successful homeowner. That's a quick overview, but that's the gist of homebuyer education.
And then the last one that I'll ask Sean is because I've had it come up quite a few times. Are these programs only available to first-time buyers?
No, and that is a myth that we tackle in just about every other webinar, where we really break down what is down payment assistance. Today is breaking down how do you market and get creative. But no, I think roughly 40% of down payment assistance programs do not have a first-time homebuyer requirement. So it's already the case that not every program is only for first-time homebuyers. But the other part of that is we have to recognize the definition of a first-time homebuyer according to HUD and others, and basically as it universally relates to down payment assistance programs. You are a first-time homebuyer if you have not had ownership interest in a home in the last 3 years. And really, as you break it down, it's more like if you haven't had ownership interest in a primary residence in the last 3 years, with exceptions for displaced homemakers and some other scenarios. But it's the 3-year rule. If you haven't owned in the last 3 years, you're a first-time homebuyer. And then 40% of DPAs don't even have a first-time homebuyer requirement anyways, which opens the door to recent or even current owners.
Sean, if you want to keep going, I got another one. Does DPA increase other fees in the transaction? For example, closing costs or origination fees?
Not necessarily. And in fact, a lot of DPA programs limit the amount of fees that can be charged on their transactions, knowing, of course, that the idea is this is a borrower that is otherwise ready but needs down payment help. So we shouldn't, and they probably couldn't afford to be gouged on fees. Now, we sometimes get asked, does it impact the interest rate? And again, that depends. There are some down payment programs that are funded through interest rate increases. Not all of them for sure. There are a lot of ways to fund a down payment assistance program. But Generally speaking, you're not looking at any more fees. There may be a fee or two associated with a down payment program. But I guess, I don't know, there's a lot of variation across the board, but generally speaking, no, it's probably a break even wash.
One more, Sean, considering we're in a seller's market, could a customer purchase a short sale using down payment assistance?
Um, I suppose if the program would allow that, that would be one thing to look at. Um, the other part of that would be the timeline. Now that's a situation where the very tight timeline of a short sale might be hard to execute on. It might be hard to be prepared and ready and get through all the things you need to do within that tight short sale time frame. Some of these programs also have certain inspection and property requirements as well. So then you're getting into the question of condition of the property. So that's going to be a little more difficult. You need a good loan officer partner that can help you out with that. And I'd say talk to, one of the local DPA providers as well, or your state housing finance agency, and see if they've got some more concrete answers for you, because that can also vary a lot by state law, property condition requirements, short sale law, and so forth. So that's hard to give one broad answer for.
Thanks, Sean. And Joanna's actually kind of asking a follow-up to that question, which I've had a couple of times on the call today. Speaking of timeline, how long does it take to get down payment assistance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how long does it take to get a mortgage in your market? And that's about how long it takes to get most down payment assistance programs, because the loan officers that know these well and do them right, they understand those timelines and they know how to do these programs. We have done data studies occasionally over the years, most recently, early last year, I want to say. And we found that the difference in days on market, so for you real estate agents, the difference in days on market for all transaction with the DPA versus all other transactions within the affordable price band, which would be, market median and below. The difference was 3 days on market, and that's not business days. That's days on market, right? That includes Saturday, Sunday, holidays, whatever. That's a negligible difference. That is not the kind of difference that is going to negate or prevent a transaction. Now, some programs they may need an extra week or two if it's like a city program. Some of them need a review period. But if you know that going into it, then you can prepare everybody for that. And even the city programs, and we saw so many city and county programs last year go through all their money super quick because people were using them, executing on them, getting those contracts won and getting them to closing. So it is absolutely still possible. You just have to understand the program requirements, work with a loan officer that can help you set expectations and get that transaction done, and make sure that the seller is aware of what's going on. And like I said earlier, leverage your reputation. So as far as the timeline thing, like I said earlier, anything can mess up a transaction. Let's not pretend that DPAs are the only thing out there that can cause a delay. Anything can cause a delay. It could be as simple as a storm came through and the property got trashed, right? I mean, that's a terrible example, but we've seen a lot of that in the last couple of months. So don't be afraid of DPAs. Just talk to a loan officer that knows what they're doing. And that's the path to success for you and a lot more buyers.
Sean, that's about all I had. I did want to make just one comment. We do regular webinars at least monthly, and I put a link to our education page in the chat, so you guys can feel free to look at that. A lot of people have been asking a lot of specific questions about the types of down payment programs. We do have a webinar called DPA 101 that we do every other month. So just wanted to give everybody that link and let them know it's there in case you wanted to register for future webinars.
Yeah, and Mel, since we're still here, we still got a huge audience. 2 more questions just came in. Art asked, are DPAs available for investors? No, Art, these are for owner-occupied primary residences only. These DPAs are not for people buying investment homes or investment properties or second homes. Michelle asked, should the DPA be in with the pre-approval? So 2 answers there, Michelle. one, yes, the DPA in some way is going to be disclosed in the pre-approval letter or something like that. Or maybe in the, the closing or the loan estimate rather. I don't know, does it need, well, actually, I think maybe your question is, does it need to be in the pre-approval letter? That may depend on state law. I don't know. I mean, even if it is, go ahead and explain it and let the seller leverage all the other things we talked about today and let the seller be aware. But if it doesn't have to be in the pre-approval letter, then so be it. That also begs the question, what about in the contract? Now that also differs by state law. There are different ways that in different states you can or have to disclose secondary financing or sources of funds for cash to close. We hear from agents sometimes that if they're using a DPA, if the state allows it, they'll just call it a gift. A gift from a family member still has to be documented. You still have to have a letter. Sometimes those funds have to be seasoned. I mean, there are potential hiccups there too that aren't even related to a down payment assistance program, but are related to the source of funds for cash to close. So talk to some realtors in your market that have done a lot of business with down payment assistance programs and figure out what the best practices are for disclosing DPAs and also winning those contracts. Another great question here from Trina. Would veterans be able to use DPA along with a VA loan? Yes, and that's actually a specific scenario we cover in our DPA 101 webinar. Think about this. A veteran qualifies for a VA loan, 0% down, but they can get a program, they can get a down payment assistance program that lets them use that money or some of it for closing costs. Then you go to the seller and say, hey, I've got a veteran. They don't need you to pay any closing costs. We'll give you list price. Don't cover any closing costs. The veteran doesn't come out of pocket for any of that. They got 100% LTV loan. What a great benefit for a veteran. And also, Trina, consider this too. Maybe they can cover closing costs, but also some of their down payment. And now you've lowered the loan amount and given them some equity going in the transaction. So yeah, absolutely. A veteran can absolutely use a down payment assistance program. And in fact, veterans often can waive the first-time homebuyer requirement for a lot of state housing finance agency programs. And there are some programs unique to veterans in some markets, or for which veterans may receive unique or additional benefits. So short answer is yes, absolutely. Veterans can use down payment assistance even with VA loans. That is very common. And it's a great way to cover closing costs, increase the value of their offer to the seller, and potentially get them some equity going into the home, even with a VA loan. So, this was very interactive, guys. I don't know, Mel, Fern, I'll let you guys have the last word, and I'll leave our Down Payment Connect info up on the screen here.
Yeah, that was an amazing crowd. Thank you, everyone. Just again, before we all go, I'll just reiterate, we did record this session and we'll be sending out a follow-up to everyone with the recording along with some follow-up materials and ways to contact us. So yeah, I'll just say thank you to everyone. It was amazing. We had some great questions, a great audience.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll get you more tomorrow.